The United Nations is appealing for peace in Gaza. The Security Council called for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire. And the Secretary General says the Gaza Strip is in critical condition. CCTV's Nick Harper is live for us at the UN headquarters in New York City. Nick.
Well, this has been the strongest push yet from the United Nations, a real concerted effort to try and find peace in Gaza. First, we had the Security Council meeting to call for an immediate ceasefire, and then the Secretary General, Ban Ki-moon, made a direct appeal to the Israeli and Palestinian leaders, calling on them to show humanity. But so far, it seems the UN's calls to lay down arms have gone unheeded. Another bloody day in Gaza, despite the most direct appeals yet from the United Nations for the violence to stop. In New York, the Secretary General appealed to Israeli and Palestinian leaders, not to their political minds, but to their hearts.
It is time for an immediate, unconditional humanitarian ceasefire. In the name of humanity, the violence must stop.
A few hours before, the UN Security Council met in New York at a hastily arranged midnight emergency session. Members are hoping for a break in the Middle East fighting to deliver humanitarian assistance. This was the Security Council's strongest call yet to try and end the violence in Gaza. But even so, there's some disappointment that they only managed to muster a presidential statement rather than a weightier, more formal resolution. Palestinian representative to the UN, Riyad Mansour, said he hoped that Israel would cease hostilities.
So we will see whether Israel will honor and respect this humanitarian ceasefire and whether they will continue with this aggression against our people.
Israel's ambassador condemned the Palestinian militant group Hamas for failing to honor previous ceasefires.
Israel agreed to 5 ceasefire proposals. Hamas rejected or broke all of them, even the ones that they requested by themselves. Every single time the international community called for a ceasefire, we seized and Hamas fired.
The UN Secretary General says continual suffering will only hurt innocent civilians and embolden extremists, making the world less safe. The problem is that this presidential statement from the Security Council isn't quite what everyone was expected. When we all broke last week, at the end of last week, we were expecting to have a resolution put forward. A draft resolution was being circulated amongst all of the member states, but it seemed that some of them were unhappy with the language and wanted it watered down, and therefore we have this statement. The problem is that resolutions are much weightier. They're legally binding. A presidential statement is quite simply a suggestion. It's just words on a bit of paper. And at this stage, it seems that the Israelis and Hamas don't want to pay any attention to that suggestion from the Security Council.
All right, CCTV's Nick Harper live at UN headquarters in New York.